Chapter 4: Low Institutional Trust. This is one of the more subtle forms of intergenerational influence because it is not simply about whether an institution is trustworthy. It is about how repeated experiences, personal, family, or community-wide, shape a person's expectations of institutions before they ever interact with them. From a psychological standpoint, trust is built through repeated experiences of fairness, competence, and predictability. Conversely, repeated experiences of unfairness or mistreatment can make distrust a rational expectation. It's also important to distinguish between healthy skepticism and global distrust. Healthy skepticism evaluates each institution on its own merits. Global distrust assumes that most institutions are likely to disappoint or exploit you, even before evidence is available. Psychologists often think of trust as the brain answering a simple question. Is this system likely to help me, ignore me, or harm me? Your answer isn't based only on your own experiences. It also comes from stories told by parents and grandparents, what happened to friends, news coverage, community norms, repeated observations over time. The brain is constantly collecting evidence and building expectations. One of the brain's primary jobs is prediction. Imagine touching a hot stove. The next time you see a stove, your brain automatically becomes cautious. It doesn't wait to be burned again. The same predictive process applies to institutions. If someone's experiences consistently suggest authority figures are unfair, complaints are ignored, applications are rejected without explanation, or systems seem stacked against them, their brain begins predicting similar outcomes in future interactions. The expectation forms before the interaction even begins. Distrust can initially be adaptive. Suppose a child repeatedly hears, "Don't tell people your business. Be careful dealing with banks. Don't expect the police to help. Government doesn't care about people like us." If these messages were shaped by genuine experiences in previous generations, they may have developed as protective advice. The challenge is that the same caution can also discourage engagement with institutions that sometimes do provide valuable opportunities. Psychologists describe a process called confirmation bias. Once people expect institutions to fail them, they naturally pay more attention to experiences that confirm that belief. For example, a positive interaction with a doctor may be viewed as an exception. A negative interaction reinforces the broader expectation. Over time, the belief becomes increasingly resistant to change because the mind selectively notices confirming evidence. This tendency is not unique to institutional trust. It is a common feature of human cognition. Perhaps the most important psychological point is this: distrust changes behavior before anything happens. Someone who expects rejection may never apply for financial aid, avoid opening a bank account, skip preventative medical care, avoid speaking with teachers, decline counseling, hesitate to report crimes. To an outside observer, this can appear like disengagement. Internally, it often feels like self-protection. Living with chronic distrust is mentally exhausting. Every interaction requires extra vigilance. Questions constantly run through the mind. What are they really trying to do? What's the catch? Can I trust this information? Will this come back to hurt me? That constant monitoring increases stress and can make even ordinary bureaucratic tasks feel emotionally draining. Imagine a fictional man named Anthony. Anthony's grandfather served in the military after returning from the segregated South. When he later tried to access benefits and housing programs, he believed he was treated unfairly and often spoke bitterly about government agencies. Throughout Anthony's childhood, he repeated, "Don't rely on the government." Anthony's mother had several frustrating experiences with landlords, public offices, and healthcare providers. She often felt dismissed or unheard. She began saying, "Nobody listens until something goes wrong." Anthony absorbed these comments long before he formed his own opinions. Whenever official letters arrived, they were associated with anxiety. Bills, benefit reviews, debt notices, court documents. Institutions became linked with stress rather than support. Without anyone explicitly teaching it, Anthony's brain formed an association. Institutions equals problems. At 23, Anthony develops persistent chest pain. Friends tell him to schedule an appointment. He delays for months, not because he enjoys being sick. Part of him expects not. They probably won't take me seriously. When he finally goes, the doctor is attentive and refers him for treatment. Anthony is surprised. His expectation had been shaped more by years of anticipation than by this individual experience. A few years later, his employer encourages workers to open retirement accounts. Anthony hesitates. He remembers hearing stories throughout childhood. They'll find a way to take your money. They don't help people like us. He leaves the paperwork untouched. The result is that he misses years of employer matching contributions, not because he lacks intelligence or discipline, but because distrust led him to disengage from an opportunity. Years later, Anthony's daughter brings home university financial aid forms. His first instinct is to say, "Forget it. They make it impossible." Then he catches himself. He realizes he is about to pass on an expectation that originated before he was born. Instead, he says, "Let's sit down and fill these out together." It takes several evenings. She qualifies for support. Anthony experiences something powerful. His brain receives new evidence. Not every institution behaves as he expected. His trust doesn't become blind, but it becomes more flexible. Psychologically, rebuilding trust is difficult because trust develops through repeated, consistent experiences, not a single positive interaction. It often requires institutions behaving fairly over time, transparent communication, respectful treatment, and individuals accumulating enough positive experiences to revise their expectations. Likewise, people can cultivate what psychologists sometimes call calibrated trust, neither assuming every institution is trustworthy nor assuming everyone is hostile. That means evaluating each situation on its own evidence rather than relying solely on inherited expectations. The broader lesson is that low institutional trust is best understood as a learned expectation. In some contexts, it may have developed as a protective response to genuine experiences of unfairness. The challenge is that when generalized too broadly, it can reduce engagement with systems that also offer education, healthcare, financial security, and legal protections. Understanding this dynamic helps explain why trust and the absence of it can have lasting effects on opportunity without implying that those effects are inevitable or irreversible.